We've all heard that the average CEO reads around 50 non-fiction books a year, while the average person barely reads one. And there's a reason for it. Imagine downloading 30 years of knowledge from the most successful people in history into your mind in just a few hours. This is what books can do for you. These amazingly successful people record what they learned throughout their lives so you can have access to it. So today we're going over 10 books that can completely change your finances, your business, and your life. So make sure to watch this video till the end to get the best of this video, but also I have a big surprise for you guys at the end. And let's get started. Number 1. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. When someone asks, where do I start when building my financial freedom? This is the first book I recommend. This was the first book I've ever read that completely changed the way I looked at money and what truly means to achieve financial freedom. It talks about the main mentality that makes rich people rich, from understanding assets and liabilities and understanding passive income to the mental blocks and emotions many people experience that keeps them poor, and even a few tricks that the rich use to pay less in taxes. This book gives a very complete understanding of wealth creation, and if you ask anyone in the business community, they would agree. And that is why this is the first book in the list, because after reading this book, you'll have a great understanding of what it takes to build a financially free life. I've covered this book in a previous video, so make sure to check it out here. Number 2. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If you're having trouble communicating your message to others or are not taken seriously, this is the book for you. Carnegie shows you the psychology behind building great relationships and how human psychology works. It teaches you the fundamentals of a great communicator and getting people to like you while creating influence with them. In this book, you'll learn how to handle interactions with people, how to be likable, and how to get them on your way of thinking, and even how to change their perspective without creating resistance or offending them. This is one of those great books that apply in pretty much every area of your life, your business life, your social life, and even your family life. The skills taught in this book are ones that can completely change your life. Number 3. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. This is one of my favorite wealth building books because it touches on the core fundamental steps to building wealth, and it's told in a story form which makes it much easier to read and remember. The story consists of a man who grew up in the same place with the same opportunities as everybody else, but he followed 5 fundamental rules of wealth which led him to become the richest man in Babylon. Number 4. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book was the creation of Napoleon Hill when one of the richest men in the world at the time, Andrew Carnegie, gave him access to some of the richest men in the world, people who amassed great fortunes and were the best at what they did. Carnegie believed that anyone could be rich if they followed a set of principles that these successful people used to build their wealth. So Carnegie sent Hill on a mission to go to these extremely successful people and figure out what made them so successful. This book is the result of 20 years of studying the most successful people in the world. All of the principles Napoleon Hill learned from these people were compiled in this book, which is structured in a very intelligent way. Now, this is an older book, but the principles that made successful people then are the same principles that make successful people now. Number 5. Influence by Robert Cialdini. When it comes to business and entrepreneurship, no one would be successful without creating influence with others. Whether you're selling a product, an idea, or even yourself, you will need to create influence in order to achieve what you desire. Robert Cialdini found 7 universal principles of influence that apply to all humans and compiled them in this book to help us create massive amounts of influence. This is one of those skills that apply in any area of your life, whether it's business, family, social, or even improving your dating life. These principles are universal in any area of your life. Once you master them, you will be able to create influence with anyone you interact with. Number 6. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. This book is one of my favorites. I mean, have you ever felt like your life is just passing you by while you go to work? I did too. The reason why this is one of my favorite books is because it took me from working 60 hours a week on multiple jobs to working 4 to 6 hours a week while making the same amount or even more than when I was working. This book focuses on relative income, not just how much you make in total, but how much you make relative to your time. Because, well, your time is much more valuable. Tim Ferriss focuses on cutting out the unnecessary things that most people waste their time while building a business and only doing the minimum work necessary while creating the maximum amount of results. Tim Ferriss also talks about location independence, where you can have complete control of where you want to be without being tied down to a location for a job. This book came out not too long ago in 2007, but completely changed the way we looked at business, and we are glad it did. Number 7. The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. Want to see how millionaires live? If you do, this is a book you might want to read. If you've ever wondered what is it like to be a millionaire in America, you'll find it in this book, and it's not what you might think. In the book, the author Thomas J. Stanley shows us how they found 7 common traits that millionaires have in common. One of them being how millionaires live way below their means and use their spare cash to reinvest to produce more income. We'll be making a more in-depth video about this book soon, so keep an eye out for that video. Number 8. Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. If you're looking for ideas where and how to invest your money, you need to read this book. Tony Robbins goes in depth on some of the biggest mistakes investors make that costs them a lot of money. He focuses on securing your financial future to give you income for life and be financially free without taking much risk. And he explains it in a way that everyone can understand. The awesome part is that the advice in this book doesn't just come from Tony, but from 50 of the biggest wealth managers in the world. People like Ray Dalio or Jack Bogle. People who the average person would not have access to. What I think is great about this book is that Tony leveraged the connections he's built over the years to give us access to the information and knowledge only the super wealthy had access to. If you want to check out that video, tap on the right hand corner to watch it. Number 9. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. If you feel like you are procrastinating, you might want to check out this book. We know that our habits makes us or breaks us, and Charles Duhigg breaks down the science and psychology of forming and keeping new habits while breaking old ones. So if you're in the market to build good new habits, this might be the book for you. Number 10. The Steve Jobs Biography by Walter Isaacson. If you're looking to see the mindset of successful people and be inspired by their journey, look no further. The biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson gives us an insight on the life of the co-founder of Apple and how he went from being a college dropout to the CEO of one of the biggest technology companies in the world. It's always a good idea reading the stories of great men and women that created an impact in the world, because we can learn from the mentalities and behaviors that led them to success. And these are just